Hello, my name is Jo Eisenhart, and I am a Badger chemist. I'm also a member of the Board of Advisors here at the Chemistry Department at Wisconsin, and I'm excited to be part of our opportunity to celebrate the success of our students. I received my PhD in inorganic chemistry here in 1985. My husband Eric also received his PhD in chemistry that year, and his was organic chemistry. After we went out to the East Coast to start our careers, and we had long careers from the East Coast back to the Midwest, and recently retired back here to Madison. So I want to share my thoughts on how my experiences here at Wisconsin influenced the career that I had. So I'm going to start with an experience I had in my third year of graduate school. I had completed all of my coursework, and I was really focused on my dissertation research. At that time, I realized that my dissertation research was going nowhere. Nothing was working out as I had anticipated it. I was focused on molecular photochemistry, and I'd learned that the class of molecules that I was working on were not following through or reacting the way I had envisioned or the hypothesis suggested they would. So was at a dead end, and I realized that I needed to start all over. And I remember the feeling I had at that time, and I sort of felt like I've hit a wall and I'm never ever going to graduate. And I suspect some students that are graduating now had that same feeling throughout their academic career. Well, after a bit of time wallowing in self-pity, I decided that I needed to do something to move forward. So I went to the library, I researched literature, and I found another class of molecules, and in the end it worked out as anticipated. And what was really striking to me about this experience was learning that I needed to be able to walk through and fight through adversity when it came to me. And learning this really helped me throughout my career. Because the reality is you can hit a wall anytime in your career, or anytime in life, quite frankly, and having the ability to find your way around that problem and in a manner that allowed you to move forward is really important. Now, I have to say that I wasn't alone while I was working through this. My research professor, Art Ellis, was by my side. He was giving me ideas. He was, challenging my thinking. But the key thing is he didn't do it for me. And I think that he purposely didn't do it for me because he realized that I needed to learn my way through adversity and figure it out myself with support versus having it done for me. And again, that has been a very valuable lesson that I took throughout my career. So after completing our PhDs, my husband and I went to the Roman Haas Chemical Company, which is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's now actually part of the Dow Corporation. The first projects I worked on there were in the area of polymer coatings and adhesives. And the work was focused on improving the performance of these polymers in order to serve the needs of our customers. Well, the reality is polymer chemistry really has very little to do with molecular photochemistry, and there were no lasers involved, etc. So I had to learn an entirely new area of chemistry. And what I came to realize at that time was that the research I had done wasn't really something I was going to be doing moving forward, but the ability to have learned how to learn was the key learning that I took forward. So the ability to learn a new area and to solve complex problems in that area to find solutions was something that I took away from graduate school that applied as I moved into polymer chemistry and as I did other types of roles in my career. After about 8 years of doing chemistry, I then moved into human resources. Now, human resources does not have a lot in common with chemistry. And in fact, I think when I was in graduate school, I didn't even know what human resources was. So what I needed to do at this time then, of course, was to learn a new field. Again, so this ability to learn how to learn and to solve complex problems in any field came to bear again. And in fact, it came to me over time as I realized the rest of my career I spent in human resources, that the ability to bring critical thinking to the human resources field and the critical thinking skills I developed while at Wisconsin really sort of set me apart in the profession. There is not a lot of chemists that move into human resources, and I think that the different approach that I took contributed to my success and allowed me to move into higher, larger roles. And when I retired, I was Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer over at Northwestern Mutual, which is in Milwaukee. And while I had gone far away from my chemistry roots, so much of what I learned and learning how to learn here at Wisconsin contributed to my success. So other experiences from graduate school also were relevant as I moved into my corporate roles. For example, in corporations, you need to be able to present your ideas in a coherent, logical fashion, either in written word or in presentations. In fact, not just in corporations, pretty much throughout a career, you would need to do that. Well, I had a lot of opportunities to do that here at Wisconsin. In terms of writing, I wrote my research proposal, I wrote a journal article, and of course, I wrote my dissertation. Presenting, we had presentations to our groups, to the whole department. I presented at American Chemical Society meeting. So there were many opportunities to put together my thoughts in a coherent fashion and be able to explain them to others. That really served me well as I moved into my career. The other piece of my career that I reflect on and say, what did I learn at Wisconsin, is the ability to supervise others. So I didn't have a big leadership role in terms of a group here at Wisconsin, which is what I ended up doing, whether in chemistry or in human resources. I got larger and larger groups of people reporting to me. But at Wisconsin, I did have the opportunity to supervise an undergraduate and supervise her research as she did a semester of work with us. And I also realized too that by being a teaching assistant, I learned how to communicate complex ideas and really teach people how to move forward in areas that they may not be as experienced in. So when I had team members reporting to me in my career, I needed to be able to explain to them the ideas I had or where we were trying to go in a manner that they could move forward and be successful. So those teaching assistant experiences, as well as supervising an undergraduate, also contributed to my career. And again, while I was in graduate school, I suspect some of this felt like extra work to me because I probably thought that my whole focus in graduate school would be to do my dissertation research so I could graduate. It's only in hindsight that I say, you know, there was a real well-rounding out of my experiences in graduate school that helped me be successful in my career. Now, of course, there are many other things at Wisconsin, other than just the work that I did while I was here, that made this place so amazing, made this university great. And one of the things that I loved to do was intramural sports. And we played lots of sports, both my husband and I. We also went to Badger football games. We had season tickets, and we still do now have season tickets. We had many ice cream cones, whether at Babcock Hall or at the Union. We also enjoyed a beer and a brat on Union Terrace on a warm evening, etc. So all of those fond memories were part of why we wanted to come back to Madison and get reconnected to the university. And they also contributed immensely to my career here and to the enjoyment of being a graduate student. So I'm going to end my talk with a quote from someone who managed or actually led through very challenging times in history. And that person is Winston Churchill. So Churchill once said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, and it is the courage to continue that counts." So it's, again, an honor for me to be here to celebrate the success of our graduating students. And then I know that success is not final for everyone. There will be many successes ahead as you move into your careers, etc. And also, you are graduating at a very challenging time in history with the pandemic and all the changes that happened as a university your last semester, as well as what's happening in life right now. And yet, with the background that you have, with the fact that you can graduate from Wisconsin in the chemistry department, which is challenging and yet rewarding, I know you will have the courage to continue. And as Churchill said, that is what counts. So I want to thank you for listening, congratulate everyone, and wish you the best as you move forward.